You are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram, and with me, per usual, a master of all things video and sound, Maxine.
How's it going?
And my boy and producer, MT.
What's up, Dub Nation?
Gentlemen, we are kind of right at the outset of what feels to be like this huge offseason, but we're also not 3 steps removed from a frustrating end, to this past season. I can still close my eyes and see that fucking Minnesota crowd waving us off the court after game 5. So we're in this little in between. We could be looking backwards kind of pissily. We could be looking forwards towards what's coming for you guys. Where do you stand? Right now, if you're thinking about Golden State, is it back towards this last season or what might be this upcoming season?
I'm still hurting. I'm looking back, just in a word. Yeah.
I'm looking forward. I mean, Steph Curry not playing softened that blow tremendously for me. So even the fans waving goodbye, they had to do it half-heartedly because they knew we weren't at full strength. It was yeah, you won, but did you really win? So
I watched that game with a friend, the last one, the closeout game. Watch it with a friend, watch it with Erica, and had said exactly what you're saying, MT. And I believed it. It's true that, my emotional impact was kind of softened because the second Steph went into the back. That was kind of it. But I told both of them this. And so because of that, we're now going into the fourth quarter. They make that slight run, but you know that they're ultimately going to lose it. And I now have to put my money where my emotional security was. I've got to show them that I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Instead of showing them that, I almost whispered the question of, is it okay if I turn down the sound and put on music because I can't listen to this fucking Minnesota crowd or the announcers say anything else? So, and I'm not sure that screamed the I'm really healthy, this is fine, that I wanted it to scream. I don't know, man. There's an old Alonzo Mourning meme that shows him on the bench in Miami and he's shaking his head super upset. And then he seemingly recognizes something and he starts nodding okay, that's where I am. I think about I'm pissy, I hate losing. And then okay, maybe, but we'll explore it because in this podcast, we're going to both look backwards and look forwards. So let's start with addressing Maxine. Yeah. Glass half full, looking back and just vent. Safe space. We're surrounded by Warriors fans. It's okay to be upset. Yeah. Look as far back into the season as you like, or just into this last playoff series, something that you didn't like, something that's just sticking out that's pissing you off. Shit, I'll go first. I have a bunch. I don't have to think at all. I already gave you one. I don't like watching the fans wave me off the court. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like Ant thanking Steph for helping him with his shot after game 4. I know it was this nice thing. I know that they met and became friends in the Olympics. I know it was just Ant basically saying, look, he's a legend and he's helping me become a legend. I didn't like it at all. Fuck you. I don't need to hear how we somehow helped you beat us. I didn't like the dance that Julius Randle did in that game 5 victory. In fact, I will tell you guys how emotionally insecure I really am. Now that we're going here, I'm just going to drop off fucking pretense. And look, hedge. This is not okay. If there's kids listening, do not do this. Don't take shots at people's personal appearance. It's immature and ridiculous. But I had this fight with Erica about Julius Randle when we were at game 4. I wanted to start a 5-clap, your face is melting chant. Clap, 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 your face is melting. And I will concede right now that it's not appropriate. We didn't do it. The fight I had with Erica is she said no one's going to understand it. And I called bullshit. All they have to do is look at the big screen, look at his face. They'll know immediately that the composition of his cheekbones are slowly melting down if you look closely. So a lot of things I didn't like about the series with Minnesota.
I mean, if you're resorting to your face is melting chance, we didn't have a shot at all. You know what I'm going to chant? Your face is melting.
I was hell fired up. I was a little nervous that people would join me, but I thought I'd get a couple of chuckles. And you know what? You guys have let me get kind of a frothy hatred going here. I'll give you the thing that bothers me the most. Maybe something I wasn't going to say. Boys, Steph Curry has given this fucking organization everything. They were, not just sub 500. We're talking about a perennial loser who were putting up 20-win seasons. He took them and made them a dynasty. He has associated the Warriors with legendary, historic records that will never be broken. We're going to see our names, our team's names in the record books for the rest of our lives because of Steph Curry. He has taken coaches and players and strapped them on his back and gave them close to Hall of Fame careers. You know, he has handed people hundreds of millions of dollars through his success. And when he needed these bastards to give them one win, they couldn't get it to him. You know, it's like, I don't think we would have won the series. And what we said before, I agree with. They're going to, but yeah, if we're looking for things I didn't like that. Damn it. I didn't like that.
I'll go with what I didn't like was Steve Kerr's rotations. It was just frustrating. Like last round, we debated on if Ime Udoka was out coaching Kerr. And I think you can make an argument that he was, and that the players kind of saved Kerr from being called out on that. This round, like I don't think it's debatable. Like the rotations were just so all over the place. It's like you don't quite understand why he's playing the people that he's doing, why he's sticking with Hield when he's having a terrible game, and he puts Moody in and the other players and they come storming back. But I just don't, it's just frustrating. Like I love Kerr and I don't think we should get rid of him, but I feel like there's going to be conversations of we're going to start talking about trading players. I feel like one of the people in there should we trade Kerr?
Right. Rotation suggests there is some rhythm to what he was doing. You know, like, oh, like this is what's going to happen every time. I remember being super frustrated at school, like early on. I mean, we're talking like elementary school math, where they'd give you a string of numbers and be like, spot the pattern. And I'd be like, fuck, I can't spot it. Like, I don't know. That's what it felt like watching Steve Kerr's rotations.
Yeah.
And look no further, Minnesota, clockwork rotations. Clockwork. You knew exactly who was going to start. You knew exactly who was going to finish. When the people came off the bench, you knew exactly what they were expected to do. With Golden State, you no idea who was going to be starting. And to be fair to him, you know, once Curry got hurt, things kind of got put into a blender. But to be fair to you, MG, before Curry got hurt, I still couldn't spot the fucking rotational pattern. So yeah, that's a fair thing to say.
I mean, there was a rotational pattern for game one. It was strength in numbers, throw 12. I think we played 12 or 13 people. Like, and then immediately went away from that. As soon as it stopped working for 6 minutes, he was like, everybody panic. And it was like Moody's just getting benched. TJD's coming in, but not really playing, you know, very much. It's like Pat Spencer's getting run. And it's like, I just didn't know. It's impossible for the players to get into a rhythm and feel like they know how to impact the game when they're just like, who's in? It's like, I don't know. Kerr just felt like he was at random points, just being closing his eyes and pointing back there and be like, who am I pointing to?
You hear players being human victory cigars. Like if they're in the game, it's because your team's won, you know, and like everything's good. Pat Spencer is a human. We have no idea what the fuck to do now. Like, I don't know. Like maybe get in there, hook shot, you know, mustache. Let's see what happens. How about you, Maxime?
I struggled a lot in this series. First of all, it is mind-boggling that we could not get one. We won game one and then lost 4 in a row. That's crazy to me, especially when some of the ideas, some of the justification behind paying Jimmy Butler $60 million is the idea that he could carry us in the minutes that Steph was out. Granted, that dude had a bruised ass. I'm sure that was more uncomfortable than he wanted to admit. But it does feel crazy to me that we could not win a single one of those 4 games. And at the same time, I start to see, you know, maybe I'm thinking about patterns because of what you were talking about and flashback to elementary school homework assignments, that there is a pattern here. The way that the vets, Steve Kerr included, let go of the rope, as opposed to like Brandon Pajemski in his second year, who doesn't know any better, who's like, I'm going to play as hard as I fucking can to the final buzzer. Obviously something else that I didn't like aside is him in the middle of his shooting motion being like, oops, I'm going to pass it instead. Like, what are you fucking doing? But I feel like he put his all in that game 5, where Draymond did not, Jimmy Butler did not, and Steve Kerr did not. These are 3 guys who have been in the NBA for a long time who probably could see the writing on the wall. We may also not have the full breadth of the information as to what, Steph said he was ready to play for game 6, but that's a scary thing. We brought Kevin Durant back in 2019 and look what fucking happened. The last thing I would absolutely sacrifice a Western Conference Finals appearance to make sure that Steph is healthy next season, because he is absolutely still at an A+ level, still capable of carrying a team to a championship, which is why this hurts so much, and which is why I can't get ready to start talking about what's happening next yet. Look, Draymond said it too. I know everybody's had injuries. It's not just us alone, but this is what I can't get out of my head about the fact that, like, it was there. Steph could have gotten a 5th ring, right? We talk about this in abstraction a lot since 2022, like what it would mean for his legacy, and it's possible, and blah, blah, blah. But here it was right there in front of us. And I know Steph felt that too. And I think with him being out, Kerr, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler all knew there's no way. There's no way we can get out of this series. And even if we do, I'm uncomfortable about bringing Steph back in. I don't think we're going to be able to beat OKC or the Denver Nuggets, who are both healthy. I think the Wolves are going to have a hard time with either of those teams too. So, I see the pattern, right? That these guys were like, fuck it, we're out. And then I kind of don't blame them for kind of giving up on it. But it's really hard to watch as a fan that just wants my team to win no matter what.
Immediate follow-ups, like Steph didn't play game 6. Like that Steph didn't play game 6. I didn't say this last week or earlier this week. I've got a friend, and I'm not even going to say it. I was going to tell you bleep, but since we're live, people will hear it. But this friend was the orthopedic surgeon for a major professional sports team here in the Bay Area. And I met them for lunch, and just throughout, he's a Warriors fan, but not really. He was aware of the injury, and asked him, how long would you send him? What does that mean? Grade 1, hamstring, what would you do? And he said a month. It's like a month. Like, you can force it, you can try, but like, really, you want to make sure he's totally healthy? Give him a month. I'm glad they didn't force it. Another pseudo transition, like this solidifies how valuable Steph Curry is. The two things we are saying right now are throughout Dub Nation. One thing people will say is, fuck, rotations were terrible. Kerr was terrible. People let go of the rope. This team was so overmatched. We had no chance when Steph got hurt. The other thing people say is, if Steph hadn't gotten hurt, we were a finals probable team. We were speeding towards maybe a 5th title. That, the inference there is who the fuck Steph Curry is. But I'll give you a much larger, actually, you know what? One more petty one. Another thing I liked about this season, that we beat Houston's ass in round 1.
Let's go.
Okay. This may seem like it's a little bit late, but there's been a reminder of why I'm this petty and how much I liked it. If we've got the tweet, let's show it here. This gentleman is from Tari Eason's mother. I'm reading from her social media account. It's got 4 pictures of Steph losing to Minnesota. Quote, at some point, everybody throws in the towel. Sincerely yours, bitch, with a waving woman emoji. So, right when I thought I couldn't like the Rockets less, we're taking shots, random shots, after they've been eliminated from one of their players' mothers. So what do I like? I like that we beat fucking Houston, but let's take a much larger view. Gentlemen, this year was about setting up next year. This year was about setting up fucking next year. A quick trip down memory lane. To borrow a phrase from Brian Windhorst, the Warriors rattled off a few checkbook wins. Compliment in my mind, not a detriment, but they were saying that Lacob used his significant financial power to bring in the players that almost guaranteed us a victory. And the NBA reacted. They've always had a salary cap, but they changed what would happen if you were above it. They started adding that repeater tax. What it meant is that if you went over the salary cap in successive years, every year you went over it in a row, it exponentially got worse. It was designed to stop Joe Lacob. That's what the fucking rule was for. And, we went for a while, but we reached a portion leading into last offseason where they realized we can't keep doing this. We got to get beneath the cap. So there were some goals, boys, heading into this year. Goal number 1, get underneath the tax. That's one of the reasons they couldn't play Klay Thompson. Mission accomplished. Goal number 2, almost non-congruent, almost like seemingly impossible. You could do 2 of these things, get under the cap, but goal number 2, find a complimentary star. Mission accomplished. They fucking got there. Then despite these 2 things, taking a step back, getting out of the playoffs, adding a complimentary star. We still got to the second round after beating a hated opponent and most likely lost because of an injury. If I had the power to call myself right now, I had a time machine phone, I could call Bram during last offseason. I was like, oh, here's what's up. We signed Jimmy Butler. We're under the cap. We beat Houston. We lost to Minnesota, but it's because Steph got hurt. And now we're heading into this offseason. Past Bram would have been like, fuck yes. Like, let's go. Okay. Can I fast forward to where you are to see where this is going? So, like, look, man, swelling's up. I hate it. I told you, I can close my eyes and see Minnesota waving. I can see Julius's melting fucking face, and it frustrates me. But if you're looking at this year and someone asked me the Giannis question, was this year a success? I can tell you resoundingly, yes. Yes, it was, which is the thing I fucking like. You know, we got to take this 1,000-mile view up. It's not to say we don't get to be frustrated. Of course we do. But you got to look at all the pieces, you know, and these pieces, I think, spell out we kind of won. I mean, not the title, but what we needed to do, they did.
And I'll add one more kind of component onto that, because just like Lacob got some checkbook wins, you know, there's a world in which you could see Steve Kerr getting the benefit of already knowing we're not going to make it out of this round, essentially as a team deciding and then doing what he's done all season. That pisses off people like us, right? Saying that, why don't they run more fucking Steph Curry pick and rolls, you know? And like, what is he doing with these 12-man rotations? All the strength and numbers bullshit. It's what allowed us to win game one, because people actually knew how to play. True. We're getting an opportunity to see real postseason playoff performances from people that we wouldn't otherwise get. So maybe that's it. But more to the point, I'm also a little bit worried. You're like, yeah, the Giannis quote about was this a successful end of the season? He's had a couple of those in recent postseasons, and he like really waxes poetic in a way that makes me think like, wow, this dude really has his shit together. But he kind of keeps losing, and I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous about hearing another one of those in the next postseason from him. But we'll leave.
Wait, are you all out on a Giannis trade? Is that what that means?
I'm more concerned than I was a couple weeks ago. Let's say.
Okay.
I've looked at the picture between he and Steph at Steph's All-Star party like 5,000 times. For people who aren't desperate for Giannis news, there was a thing that came out that Steph had a party during All-Star weekend that was principally Warriors players, Warriors staffers. It was a gentleman's cut release party, something like that. And that two players showed up. Scoot Henderson, because Scoot Henderson is being tutored by Steph Curry, and Antetokounmpo. And I'll tell you what, boys, to me, that means he's already signed. Let's go. He's going to take a huge pay cut. Now that I feel better about my gushing optimism over the season, I'll also throw this in, just looking back on the rotations. If your company is in like it's like the most important part for whatever it is you do, you know, like for me as an attorney, if we're in the last day of trial and like everything came down to this day and we were losing, and my reaction was, why don't we throw in the file clerk? It's like, just somebody from way in the cuts, get him, have them do the closing argument. Maybe it'll work. The client's not going to be super happy with that. Like, things are not super well. If I was like, oh, bring in Pat, maybe he can say something here. Things didn't go the exact way that you wanted them to go. So is what it is. All right, boys, looking forward. We kind of did this with Wes last week, but I was so eager to do the donut story that short thrifted it, went through too quickly, didn't really get to dig in. So I'm repackaging the segment. I'm going to call this one Cut, Keep, or Trade. The idea is we're going to go through the roster, not all of them, not immediately at least, probably 2-3 players at a time as the offseason goes out here. I give you a name, I give you their contract, their age. You tell me if you would prefer cut, keep, or trade them. Cut means not that you hate them. You know, they're, I'm sure, good people. You've enjoyed watching them play, but you're fine if they leave. You know, let them go. It's a roster spot that should go in a different direction. Keep, I'm all in. Give a shit what you have to do. This is a key to our victory. Trade, like them. I can see the value, but I wouldn't mind seeing what else we could get if it's out there. I normally do some easy examples, you know, like give you a name and you'll obviously tell me. I'll tell you, it's not that easy this year. Looking at the roster, I found one name that it was easy. Steph Curry. You know, we keep him. Yeah, obviously. The rest of them, I don't, at least for me, it wasn't that easy. But let's find out if it was for you guys. I'm going to start with kind of a fun one. Buddy Hield. So Buddy is going to be making about $10 million next year. Not terrible. He is 35 years old. Talk about an up and down season. There were times I legitimately hated watching Buddy Hield play basketball. And there were times where he saved us from a playoff loss. Very specifically, he was Batman, to use his own quote. So MT, take us first here. Cut, keep, or trade Buddy Hield?
Keep, but there's other moves that justify it. But I keep him and make the other moves that we'll talk about, and he has to come off the bench only.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. What other moves? Give me a sense here.
I'd like to trade Moody, not because I don't like him, but because I feel like he just deserves to be free and go get consistent minutes and kind of get his mojo back. And I'm hoping to bring back D'Anthony Melton with that trade. Because I think we started out 13-2 and then went 2-13, and it all was tied to that. I think we forget, looking back at the whole season, just how well we were playing and how well we gelled when Buddy was on the bench and D'Anthony was our starting two guard, and it kind of just all flowed. So I'd love to go back to that. You add that to the mix with Jimmy Butler. I think it's a winning combination.
Doesn't that seem like 100 years ago? The D'Anthony Melton, like when he was still on the team, like how long ago that was?
Like
it seems like he played with like Bielitsa or something. I mean, like it feels like another season. How far back it went. How about you, Maxime? Buddy Hield, cut, keep, or trade?
First of all, I would not trade him. I think the calculation there is primarily about where is his value greater, on the Warriors or on another one of the 29 teams. And I think in this case, especially because going out of after game 5, he's saying, oh, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I want to be in Golden State. It's really clear that he's going to play his best basketball, that he's most likely to excel here. That's, of course, also assuming that Jimmy Butler is still in Golden State next year. It's very clear that Buddy generally went up a level, with Jimmy being his Robin to his whatever Butler stuff. So I agree. I keep him. It is not as simple. I think, MT, you're absolutely right. I forgot about D'Anthony Melton, and that's another thing that I guess I don't like and maybe do. Mike Dunleavy Jr. put together a great squad going into this season. Of course, the reason that Melton was not as coveted around the league is because of injury risk, and we definitely got fucked over on that one. But there was clearly an intention for this roster that didn't get an opportunity to play out. We now have another summer. We have a much more steady piece, in addition to Steph and at least Draymond as a trade asset or whatever, in Jimmy Butler, which means that we have an opportunity to create a roster around them that makes sense. And we know that Mike Dunleavy Jr. was capable of doing that because he found the guys like D'Anthony Melton and Buddy Hield to make that all work. But it only works when you have somebody like Buddy coming off of the bench. So that's all to say. I don't think that his value is greater elsewhere. So I don't think that he's an asset for us. And therefore, I think you keep him on the team because he's a great locker room presence. And when he's on, he's on.
You gave me another like. We entered last year having no idea what to expect from Mike D. None. I mean, some kind of nasty background, I mean, like I don't have a super clean history with Mike D. I booed the shit out of that guy for multiple years before he left Golden State to go play in Indiana. And I think we can all agree, like 1 year in, and I like him as our GM, man. He seems like a pretty good talent evaluator, good rookie class, made like the deals that we had to make. Thumbs up. All right, Buddy Hield, keep. The new in vogue thing in the NBA is depth and shooting. The Warriors don't really have a whole lot of either, and Buddy Hield can shoot. 10 million ain't shit, and by all accounts, he's like everybody's favorite teammate. And we kind of got a glimpse of it. We saw how fun he was. So keep. Forgot to ask this follow-up, and it's going to distract me. Who is right? If I had started a fucking clap, faces melting chant for Julius Randle, would the majority of people in that arena, no one would have supported me. I'm not saying would they have joined. Like, I get it. It's an asshole thing and it's not okay. But would they have understood? Because that's the thing I was fighting with Erica. She said like 100% they wouldn't have gotten it. And like, yes, they would have, I say. But I'm biased. What's your guys' take here?
I've spent a lot of time seeing up close shots of him on TV, and I might not have read it in the same way in terms of bone structure, but I don't understand how somebody could have that patchy of a beard and decide, you know what? I'm going to let this one grow out. What are you doing? So if it's just that your face is melting around the area of your face that is incapable of growing facial hair, that is enough for me. I would have understood.
MT?
I would have gotten it, but I would have been like, oh, we could have done so much better for this chance.
Oh, you piece of shit. Just answer the question I put to you. I mean, again, kids, do not be like me. This is not okay at all. If misery loves company, I've had more than one person say I look like Jim Brewer because of the dope fiend circles I have underneath my eyes. Like, it's not, I'm not a model, dude. There's a lot of nasty things that you could say about my physical appearance that they would understand via 5 clap. So, he is Jim Brewer. I don't know. Some work there. All right, I'm not telling Erica that what you just did, MJ. You can shut up. 100%. We go to our second player. Kind of a fan favorite, and we're starting, I don't know, in the shallower end of the roster here because it's just the first few people. But the name is GP2. Next year is going to be 32 years old, unrestricted. There is no contract on the books for GP. He could go play anywhere he wanted. What do you do? Would you make him an offer? Do you go with a minimum? Do more than that? Do you let him walk? What's the move here? Maxime, why don't you take us first?
I want to caveat this by saying that I am really attached to everybody on this squad. And with that said, I cut him. I think that there was a time where he was compelling and was considered one of the best, if not the best, on-ball defenders in the league. We just saw him get absolutely cooked. So I don't think that's the case anymore. He's too injury-riddled at this point to be really reliable. And though occasionally the 3-ball fell, you could tell by how open he was being left on the perimeter that other teams are not expecting. They're like, yeah, go for it. We're going to sag off of you to make sure that the actual shooters on this team are covered. And that's not a great look when he's essentially not able to be a stalwart defender, and that's what we have him on the roster for. And then on the other end, he's cramping our spacing. That's not what you want in a player. I love him. I think he's an incredible locker room presence, but that's not enough to be a key member of a basketball squad.
MT, is there a faster way to say fuck the person I was just talking about than that said? And like, whatever it is, I really like the meal you cooked. That said, I got diarrhea. I love that hat. That said, the color's terrible. Just like those things. I love everyone on this roster. That said, cut fucking GP2. Get him the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I love you. That said, I hate you.
I hate you so much. There's nothing I love about you, except for the first thing I said, but also that's it. I'm out.
Yeah, I keep him for reasons beyond just the emotional attachment. I think he only plays well in our system and recognizes that. I think his brief stint, even though he was hurt in Portland, and then his bouncing around the league earlier, gives him enough data to make that conclusion too. But one of the things I've noticed, I know this is our offseason, but of the 4 teams left, none of them made any big in-season moves or trades. And we did. Like, not only are we like, oh, that's right, D'Anthony Melton, that was this season. Like, we also had Dennis Schroeder, slow-mo. Like, we went through a few different changes, and barring a Steph injury, I think went against the grain in terms of making it work. So the continuity that GP2 brings, I think, is worth keeping him on, offering him a minimum contract and letting the good vibes in the locker room roll on.
Yeah, it's the minimum contract for me. If we're talking, 6-7 million, sure, absolutely, why not? If he's looking for more than that, if it's a buddy contract or above, maybe not. And I don't know if anybody swings in how I feel about them more than GP2. There are times when he feels like the most valuable, like a ball stopping defensive guard who you can throw on the league's lead guards. When SGA comes to town, you have someone to put on his ass. And then there's times when he's taking an open 3 and all I can think of is that's a terrible shot. Like if he's doing that, we've got no chance in this game. And so if we can put him in a portion of the roster where that makes sense, where like we need to stop, in he goes, sure. If we're paying him and playing him like a starter, cut. He doesn't deserve that large of a role. As we go forward, generally speaking. Yeah. So turns out basketball is still being played. I don't know if you guys knew. I've been kind of pissy, but NBA games are still roaring on. Are you guys, of course we're still watching. So I wanted to ask this of like, will you even watch? I mean, we'll still watch. We do an NBA podcast. We help cover them, but do you still have the interest that you did last week? Or now that the Warriors have lost, is there kind of a who cares feeling behind it? Because I don't know if I'm breaking any news here, but who cares?
I don't watch it as intently. Like, I have to remember that there are games on now, whereas before I would schedule other things around it. But I also, right after Steph got hurt, and they were like, oh, game 6 at the earliest, it was also like mercy. Like I had to watch it, but I hated watching it because it was like I was just waiting to, like watch your most favorite thing just get pummeled. So like it was the mercy kill, which is a relief in some ways.
You remember I thought it was gonna be the last one, but it wasn't. I think it's 3, maybe 4. I think it's 3. Toy Story 3. The last 10 minutes of it is the entire gang who we've grown up with are on an incendiary belt or an incinerator belt, a incinerator belt. And so they are all rolling towards a certain doom. They know it, and they've got to spend the time together as they're rolling towards it. Since Steph got hurt, it felt like I was on that incinerator belt. I could see the fucking lava pit we're going towards. I'd invite friends over. We'd sit on the couch and like, oh, lava pit's a little closer. Like, here we come. And that part sucked ass. I could tell you, I've been confusing my 10-year-old. The Denver game was on the other day. Kylie comes in, sees it. She says, Daddy, I thought the basketball season's over. And I went, it is. And then we sat there with TV on and they're just playing basketball. And it's just like, well, what does that mean, dude? Like I can see you're watching basketball. So like, is this not the NBA or what's happening?
Yeah. My daughter watched the Nuggets game the other night and I told her they were playing and now she calls them the chicken nuggets. And I think it's fantastic. Awesome. And now I want Nuggets game all the time because she always asks if the chicken nuggets are playing right now.
It's too bad we didn't go on to play the chicken nuggets because that would have been an incredible ongoing segment. All right, to our last player. One we kind of covered last week, but we were in such a rush, we didn't get to dig in on it because I think he is one of the keys, if not the key to this offseason. Jonathan Kuminga, boys. So he is going to be a restricted free agent. That means he does not have a deal. It means the Warriors can negotiate with him. They don't have to. And it means that if another team offers him money, the Warriors will have a right to match it. And if they do, Jonathan Kuminga has to come back to Golden State, even if he doesn't want to. Just is what it is. That's what it means to be an unrestricted free agent. So I got a couple questions. Yeah, here's the first. Will the Warriors offer him anything? If you are Mike D, do you sit down with his camp and make any initial offer at all? And I've been pushing these on to you guys. I'll take this first one first. No, I do not. I value him. It is what it is. I definitely like him with the way, and let me put some teeth behind that. We felt outmatched athletically against Houston. And it's not like JK made a difference in that. He shit the bed a couple of times. But when we came in, he was the only guy who sprinted past Sengun like it meant nothing. Nothing. He was so much faster than them. Minnesota, I've watched Naz Reid torch our ass for so long. And in game 5 and portions of game 4, JK torched Reid so badly on the offensive end, they had to take him off the floor. And we don't have people who put athletic rim pressure. That's not something that we have, and I value it. And I think he had like 30 and 22 over the last couple of games, and then 26 maybe in that last closeout game. So I can see his fucking value. But we've also torched his relationship with everybody on the team, Kerr specific. And I think it would be disingenuous to go and make him an offer. So my approach here would be no offer from us. Go out. Go see what other people offer you, and then we'll talk. How about you guys?
So first of all, this feels like an abusive relationship in that, like you start by doing something abusive to this person. And then you're like, oh no, baby, I didn't mean it. Like, I really love you. Come back. Which is what Steve Kerr is doing in the media right now.
No, take it a step further. It's your fault that happened. You made me do that. You know, you
Oh,
didn't
man.
fucking, you didn't you didn't rebound, you didn't shoot. You know, like this was on
looked off
you.
Steph a couple times. Yeah. Like, sorry that this dude is feeling himself occasionally. You know, it's something that I think the reverence that we treat Steph with is kind of an impediment in this situation, and it's what makes the two timelines thing so difficult. Like, you need this guy to feel himself a little bit to operate at his best level. Anyways, he's on the end of his rookie scale contract, right, which means that he's going into restricted free agency this summer. We already know that he wanted a much bigger contract than he was able to secure. I think it's a very tricky calculus, because if you offer him anything, it's probably going to be less than he thinks that he deserves. But if you don't offer him anything, then what you're telling him is, well, we don't think that you deserve anything. And I know that there's nuance in there, right? Because you could maybe a great GM, which I am not a GM at all, so how the fuck do I know, is going to be able to thread that needle in a way that says, look, we really want to give you something, like, go prove it to us. Yeah. And he's going to come back and be like, I got this awesome number, and we're going to be like, that's awesome, we want to match that because we love you, and everybody's going to be super happy about it. It seems really difficult for me to think that a 22-year-old is going to have the maturity to not see that as a fuck you either way. So I do think in the case of what makes the most sense for the team, because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, in terms of Kuminga, yeah, you don't offer him anything, and then you decide if you're willing to match whatever he receives in the from the rest of the marketplace. But I don't think it's going to lead to a happy Kuminga if we do in fact decide to keep him.
MT, before you answer, if they want to do an olive branch at all, if there's any hope with him playing here, and I wasn't thinking this until Maxime just said it, it's an offer. It's not it's not a match. It's an upfront offer. Like, look, we value you. You know what I mean? Like, even though we kind of screwed this up, we saw what you did, and you make them not an FU offer. I mean, we could talk about what the number should be, but if there's any reason they're going to do it, if there's any way of salvaging him and having him be in a uniform next season, it would probably start with not a match, but a concrete offer from us. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they make an offer, or do they just let him walk? Not walk. Let him test the market.
I think they make him an offer, but it's not a public one. I think what they do is in the offseason, they meet with him, and I think Mike D and Steve Kerr specifically, and say, my bad, we messed that up, but we value you. We think this is where we would want to come in at, but we want you to go feel like you can test the market. Like, if you can beat this deal, then, like, we're open to a sign and trade and making it happen. If you want to leave, we think this is where your value's at and what sets us up to make sure we can add all the pieces to have another run. If you're in for this number. If not, like, go have the talks and we'll talk when you come back with the number. I think it's unfair to have the expectations that Butler, Curry, Draymond, and Kuminga figured it all out in 22 games or however many they had together. I mean, you saw LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh couldn't even figure it out for a whole season. Like, they lost they didn't win a championship their first season. And I'm not saying that those four players are the comparable, or JK is a Chris Bosh or D Wade, but I think you have to give them time. Like, Kerr didn't have time to figure it out. He was like, it's not working. You're just coming back from injury. And when I put you on the floor, you can't shoot well enough. And with Jimmy's more valuable, so you're on the bench. I think you have to have that heart to heart with Kerr too, and be like, you have to start switching it up a little bit. Like, what you're doing isn't working with this personnel. I know you're trying to make it work, but it's not. So it's incumbent on us to tell the players to switch, but you have to be more flexible too. And I hope that Steph and Draymond have that conversation with Kerr too, because I still think he's the right coach, but him being so inflexible with what he's doing, I think is a detriment to the team.
When the Heedles were having trouble getting everybody together, at no point where they're like, fuck it. Whoever, Dwayne Wade, go sit. We're going to play Mario Chalmers. Like, it's obviously the problem is you. Get the fuck out of here. You're in the doghouse for a couple of times with what they did with JK. Yeah. If I sat down, I'm part of JK's camp, and they open up with an apology, which is classy and then probably the right move. My follow-up question is, what exactly are you apologizing for? Because you fucked me over so many times. Like, are we just talking about the Houston series? Was it when you sat me entirely when we played the Clippers? Was it that time? Was it earlier when you you have dragged me across so many coals. What I think happens is I like the idea of a private number that we don't find out, with the real plan being go out there, find out your market. We are going to match. We're going to match. If there's some way we can like rehab our relationship, maybe we match and you stay, but most likely we match and you trade us. I think that's the move that's going to happen.
I don't think that, look, Steve Kerr, maybe we all got our problems with his rotations and whatever, and maybe he's not the most brilliant coach that we've seen of all time, but we all can admit that he's not an idiot. I think the degree to which he played hard with Kuminga indicates that we want him on the roster. Like, I think he's trying to teach him a super hard lesson, and he doesn't know how else to do it. We don't know how Kuminga operates as a 21, 22-year-old, right? Like, he's a kid.
Sure.
And this is a decision, clearly, that Steve Kerr felt that he needed to make to reach him, because whatever else he was trying to do didn't work. And I think if you wanted him to not be on your roster next season, obviously you play him more than that, because this is the worst possible thing that you could do in terms of propping up his trade value or letting him be an asset on the, granted he needs to go get that contract. Steve Kerr's trying to teach him something, right? And he was saying, look, this isn't working, but we want you on the team. And so I think MT is exactly right. That's how we're going to play it. We're going to have a quiet offer, but it's because we needed him to learn a lesson and we didn't see another way to do it.
Well, fuck, to back MT, if what we're talking, or to take the next point that Marcus made, if what we're saying is, if Kerr's point to JK is, look, what you're doing is not allowing us to win, you need to change your game. Perhaps that same level of evaluation needs to be at Steve Kerr. Like, fuck, man, we didn't win. And like we found out that you had this asset. You had this asset. I mean, JK gave you 30. That's not a small thing. He gave you 26 in the last one. Not a small thing. You did not know how to use them by your own admission. Like you literally said, okay, get off. We can't. And so if Steve Kerr's message to Kuminga is that your system, the way you're playing, isn't allowing us to win, maybe he needs to look at his own reluctance to change his own system in any way. That it might be time for a slight shift, but I don't know. We'll see. Next question for JK. If they do, if they're like, go find out what your market is, how much a year do you think he will be offered? Some parameters for you guys, some benchmarks out there. Moses Moody next year, $11 million a year. Draymond Green next year, $25 million a year. Jalen Green, same draft class, next year, $33 million a year. Jonathan Kuminga's camp, at least by unverified accounts, he wants $50 million. He wants a max contract at $50 million a year. 11, 25, 33, 50. What do you think he gets offered? What's his value out there?
I think he's aligned with like a Cam Johnson, like between 20, 25. I don't know exactly what Cam's at, but and I think that ends up being the package. I think JK and Moody go to Brooklyn, and Cam Johnson and DeAnthony Melton come back to the Warriors.
I take that.
Yeah.
That's so I can get DeAnthony Melton too. Just
there's a theme emerging. You're a big DeAnthony Melton fan. I have suggested on a couple of podcasts, and I'll stick with it now, 80 for 3. So it's what, like 26 and a half, right about there. So it's that same kind of level. Maxime, what would you give him? Not for the Warriors, like another team. You liked Jonathan Kuminga, whatever, for whatever reason, for whatever team, what would you offer him?
So I don't actually know how the how the math works out in terms of like what the cap space is for us within the Warriors. I think that he's about $5 million more valuable in sort of a general marketplace on the Warriors than he would be on any other team. As in, I think somewhere between 22 to 25 is what he will get on the market, right? Yeah. And I think we would match that. Because I think we would be willing, again, I don't understand. I'm not doing all of the math about how much room we actually have to be able to manage this, but I think 30 million is about right. Especially now that we know that he can contribute more than we were giving him credit for.
Is there any chance he stays? All right. And so this requires Jonathan Kuminga. We'd have to be in his mind. We don't know who he is. We don't know how he experienced this. We don't know the truth, but we can give our opinion. Okay. If it was you, if you went through what just happened You know, like you did played, you got jerked around, you got put back in. I mean, just all the stuff we've talked about for Jonathan Kuminga. He goes out, gets an offer. The Warriors match it, so the money's right. He feels okay about that. You know, the league, not the Warriors, set his market. So now this is it. This is what he's getting. The Warriors match it. Is there any scenario, anything Golden State could tell you boys where you'd feel fine? Yep, I want to wear a Golden State jersey next year. I'm in. Because not for me. They would have ruined it for me. No way. No way. Fuck you. Not when you sat me. Not when I was in the doghouse. Not when it was public. You know, not with all the things I've kind of heard my name dragged around in. You lost me. Too bad. You know, it is what it is. But I'm petty. You know what I mean? Like and unhealthy. So how would you guys handle it?
I'm with you, and it's hard. Even though this isn't true, it's hard not to falsely connect the dots to say you sat me so my value would go down so that you can keep me for a cheaper contract. Like, again, hopefully not true, but the optics are there for that too.
It didn't look great.
First of all, the name that keeps on bouncing around in my head, I was trying to think about players who are in the same draft class or younger than Jonathan Kuminga, and thinking about some of their successes around the league, right? And I mean, one name that comes to mind just because we just played them is Alperen Sengun, but in that case, the Rockets are a very young team in general, right? They're not trying to do the two-timeline thing. They're trying to raise a bunch of young stars, and they're all sort of percolating at the right time. However, another name that comes up who's still in the playoffs is Christian Braun, who is right now really acting as maybe the third best player on the Denver Nuggets, or not talking about Aaron Gordon. Yep. You know, a very, very valuable piece of their lineup. He's a year younger than Jonathan Kuminga, or as in drafted a year after him. And somehow the Denver Nuggets, the Denver Chicken Nuggets, figured out a way to help Christian Braun associate and work with existing superstars. So it's not an impossibility, which is very frustrating. And I think that's what a lot of the fan base is frustrated about. It's like, we fumbled this so fucking hard. Again, I will go back to, I don't know what the organization knows about who this kid is as a personality, and maybe he just needed a little bit of tough love in this way, and this is actually going to be very strengthening for him. If that's not the case, then it goes back to MT's point earlier in this episode that we'll probably deal with at another time. Is it time to trade Steve Kerr? And I mean that in terms of there might be another coach out there that can give them something different that will allow Jonathan Kuminga to still be on this roster, and maybe that is what is the most likely thing to win Steph a fifth title. Because I don't think Steph needs Steve Kerr as his coach to be this apex superstar. He's transcended that, and maybe another coach will be able to mend the relationship with Kuminga.
We've used this phrase before. If you had to bet something significant to you, mortgage payment, car payment, whatever, bet something big for you. If you guys had to bet on whether or not Steph Curry has ever coached by somebody not named Steve Kerr, which way would you bet? Because I would bet multiple mortgage payments. Kerr's not going anywhere. Yeah. It's not happening. And we're all lined up, man. Everybody, like Draymond and Kerr and Jimmy and Steph. Like I think this is a foregone conclusion. Do you guys view it the same way?
Yeah, he won 4 titles. I mean, he's like, come on, like he gets to do whatever he wants at this point. If we don't make another postseason, Steve Kerr has merited his contract.
He was with Steph in the Olympic title. I mean, all of them. You know what I mean? Like there's a connection there that I bet you we don't necessarily understand. To back what you were saying about Brown and Denver, not only did they find a way to get him in there, they jettisoned some guys. Bruce Brown from the title team, who was a very big piece for them defensively, specifically. Christian Braun is now playing a lot of that role and almost all of those minutes, you know, and I think one of the reasons they let him walk is because they believed in that exactly. I think that trade packages around JK is going to be a very popular and frequent topic for us during this offseason. I like the DeAnthony Melton Brooklyn one. I'm going to give you a couple from Milwaukee. Milwaukee's going to blow it up, man. How can you not? They are facing some real difficult realities with Lillard hurt, Giannis wanting his way out, and them not having any youth anymore, if that happens, and no draft picks. Their draft picks are gonzo forever. All right. So some trade picks. Would you trade Jonathan Kuminga for Brook Lopez and Kevin Porter Jr., which is about $23 million. Brook Lopez is a free agent. so you could just sign him out. He was making kind of low 20s before. Kevin Porter Jr. only had a contract of $2 million. So it'd be a sign and trade. Would you guys make that deal? Shooting, a little bit of interior defense, and then another scorer with Kevin Porter Jr.
I don't trust the personality stuff with Kevin Porter Jr. I don't think that he would be a good fit on Golden State. I'm not making that deal. Plus, Brook Lopez is aging out. I think he would be compelling, but I'm not at that $20 million price point.
Kevin Porter Jr. plays interior defense?
Brook Lopez.
No, Brook Lopez.
Brook Lopez, the first name. Yeah.
Kevin Porter Jr. plays better interior defense than Brook Lopez.
Brook Lopez can get blocks. He gets blocks. That's not true.
He's a little bit of 2 rebounds a game. He's the only biggest 7-footer who gets 0 rebounds.
Yeah, no. You said interior defense, asshole. I didn't say rebounding. I said interior
defense. Part of it. Defensive rebounding. Get a defensive
shots.
You're
defense. God damn it. He block shots. You could just say no if you want.
No.
Okay. Why not?
You dare do it if you're the GM. Do not.
Have you considered his rebounding when you're looking at that?
Trade.
He's an excellent rebounder, and you know fucking nothing. I would consider it, but probably say no. I think
5 rebounds a game from your 7-1 center.
How many blocks does he have? I'm worried about this. I actually don't tell me that because I have no idea what that stat is, and I'm just hoping that he can block shots.
He doesn't even make it on this little chart right now
because it's so high. They couldn't fit the number. It was too fucking big. It was like 19 blocks a game. They're like, we're not even going to include it in any way. While you're looking it up, I have a wish list, something that's probably not going to happen, but I hope one of the reasons the Warriors are going to get better next year is that a veteran will join us who has not yet won a title and is looking for an opportunity. I'm also hoping that happens at the center position. Some of the names I throw out there are Steven Adams. I got interest. Brook Lopez with no deal and a history here in the Golden State with his time in college at Stanford. Maybe you could get him on a minimum and you don't actually have to make a trade. So I would not do this deal. What's the number, MT? Any blacks?
1.9 for the season.
Let's go. Per game? Fuck yeah. Interior defense. Suck on that, MT. Here's my other Milwaukee trade. It'll be the last one. The Warriors give up, sign, and trade Jonathan Kuminga. We signed him to a $26 million deal, so it's right about what we've been saying. Here's who we get back. Interior defensive specialist Kevin Porter Jr. Incredible rebounder. Bobby Portis, a little bit of toughness, a little interior D, and some shooting. Taurean Prince, a 3-and-D guy, and Pat Connaughton, kind of a cheap Dante DiVincenzo. So a 4-for-1 deal. We add depth, we add shooting, we add a little bit of defense. We give up Kuminga. What do you guys think?
We also get some crazy eyes with Bobby Portis Jr. That's huge.
A defensive front line starring Jimmy Butler, Bobby Portis Jr., and Draymond Green. They're like, holy fuck, dude, we're going to set the technical world on fire. It's going to, no one's going to want to deal with that in any way.
I still think we're missing actual, 1.9 blocks per game style interior defense, which is proving to be a bit of a downside. And as much as I like the crazy eyes, that said, I would not do this deal.
Nope, not doing it.
This one you'd have my attention. This one I wouldn't give him an answer. We're shopping him. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not telling you no, but I'm not telling you yes. And I've got some other deals going, and I would hope that would make them nervous. And then they add a first-round pick or something, although they don't have any picks. So you'd have my attention, but I'd probably say no. All right, last question. Boys, if you could turn down your emotional attachment. Yeah, if there is some dial that showed how much you cared about this team, and you literally could reach out and turn it down a little, not a lot, dude, but just a little bit, so that when they lost, you didn't care quite as much. And when they won, it wouldn't feel quite as good. Would you dial it back?
No.
Nope.
100% yes.
It's not worth it. The losses suck, and the dial is very tempting because there's probably going to be more losses than wins in our near future. But the wins are just so sweet that I just don't want to lose that feeling. The few times when we were just, winning and, Jimmy Butler's telling Buddy Hield to get away from him and he's not going to do anything on national TV. those moments make it worth it to me.
My wife won't allow my daughter to have friends over during Warriors games because she said that daddy will scare your friends. That's a line that's been, and like not one that I can refute. For me, dude, I think my dial's broken. Like it goes, like I'll have it set of 9 out of 10 for the wins, and when they lose, it goes to 14 out of 10. And like I haven't pressed it. Like I don't know why that happens. It's like this like psychological break. I get so angry. And I think I would. I think I would dial it back. Like not a lot, but I'd like to get the 14 under 10 somehow. So like if that meant I enjoyed it at like 7 and then the losses went to 9, I think I'd live longer. It just is what it is. It hits me in a way that's not fun at all when they lose. Like, oh my God.
I mean, if you're at a 14, I don't know how you do math, but you're going down to a 6 at least, buddy. So you can't go 7 to 9 if you're at a 14.
Do you worry about it? I told you my dial's broken. It doesn't follow any patterns. And I told you I can't follow mathematical patterns. I mean, I revealed that to you a long time ago, and it's fucked up that you're throwing that in my face now. Maxime, you turn it down?
No. But I mean, I think it's also right. Like you being at a 14 in the losses is frankly part of why people tune into the show in the first place, right? So I think it's a part of who we are. It's a part of our fandom, and it's like it's what made that 22 title. I'm just thinking back to the 22 title, and it just being such a surprise that we went on that run relative to what we thought we were gonna do. It's the best feeling, and it's a safe place to feel like that, right? There's nowhere else in my life that I have the opportunity to kind of like let it all hang out. And it feels so good. Like, I'll take it all.
I'll leave us with a story. So I've mentioned a couple of times when we went to game 4 and before we went, hey, I mean, we're on the incinerator belt. Like we're going to lose this game, man. I'd kind of come to terms with that before we showed up, and the tickets aren't cheap. And so I try to make a deal with myself. Just enjoy it. You're like losing, whatever, like just enjoy it. Like get your money's worth on this. Enjoy your time with your wife. Get out there and just experience this. Allow it to be something positive you look back on. And in the second quarter, they're still winning. On the big board, they show some high school team that must have won something. I don't know. They're sitting upstairs. And Erica notices that someone she knew was sitting in front of the team. Not with them, but in the same location. And she knew that person made a lot of money. And she tells me then, like, oh, that person worked for Clorox and they made all this money and they used to sit downstairs. I can't believe they're sitting upstairs. And she tells me that and I interact with it. Great. Fine. Then we fast forward. Now we're in the third quarter. It's on the other end of the Warriors giving up. They've let go of the rope with the lead is ballooned to 17. It's over. And I'm thinking to myself, enjoy this. This is what you've been preparing for. And Erica leans over and is kind of nicely like trying to change the topic from the Warriors getting their ass kicked. And she's saying like, I just can't believe they're sitting up there. Like Clorox, they make so much money. And I didn't say it, thank God. Internally, I'm like, I don't give a fuck where that person's sitting. I don't care where they work. I don't care that they're up there now. We're down 17. What are you talking about? Who's sitting upstairs? And like, that's 14. Like that's not healthy. I have to be able to turn it down. Which is why it is what it is. Okay, boys, appreciate you. I feel better. I got some of this shit off my chest. We haven't done this for a little while. For people who would like to let us know we've done a good job, bad job, any kind of job, any suggestion, you can shoot us an email to
huddle@warriorshuddle.com.
We're also up on X and or Twitter. Search out Warriors Huddle. We're on most social media sites. Most importantly, you're probably on the other side of our ad read. Patreon. Hop on there. Help us out. Get an ad-free feed. I'm hoping to do some more Patreon-only episodes through the offseason here, and you'll have those there. You also get like show notes, the things that we're working from on an episode by episode basis. There are some perks for you, and you will help us keep this show alive. So help us out. Hop on Patreon, look at Warriors Huddle. With that in mind, go Warriors, and hopefully we'll see you real soon.